Did you just gargle?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Yo, gotta get my vocal cords.
Your throat game.
No chance.
All right, episode 11. We're back. As always, your host of the No Chance podcast. My name's Ryan.
My name's Nate.
And happy to be here today.
Yeah.
Recording.
Recording
another
pretty early this week, actually.
Yeah, we usually do this on like a Thursday,
yeah.
and it gives us
a
like
day.
one day to like edit.
Yeah.
Hey, we're sorry, we're a little lagging, but don't worry about us, all right? We're trying.
We had a long weekend.
A very long weekend. Tell them where we went, man.
We took a little trip down to LA.
Yeah, it
we
was
were
the
there
most
for the
fucking
weekend.
grueling, like, 48 hours of 3 hours of sleep total,
Yeah.
6 hours of sleep total.
I think I slept 2 hours like each night. It was pretty bad. Yeah. Shout out to Hennessy.
Yeah.
Sponsor us, please.
We actually, we were driving down on
Friday night.
Yeah. And literally the only thing that we wanted to go to was this Undefeated pop-up. Alayli May had her Air Jordan 1 dropping at Undefeated on La Brea.
Yep.
And she had like this really dope pop-up. Giving like a background of like kind of what it looked. It was like a swap meet, right? It looked like a swap meet kind of.
Yeah, I don't know. From the pictures, it didn't really look like it was too extravagant. Like I know, like a lot of pop-ups are. It looked pretty not basic, but I don't know. How would you explain it?
They built it
Obviously,
out
they did a
pretty
job.
nicely, I think, in terms of what the sort of homage to the shoe was. So
Yeah.
I think we kind of referenced it in the last episode of what she was doing with her collaboration with Nike, being, I want to say, like the second most official Air Jordan collaboration with a female like ambassador, essentially.
Yeah.
The first was Vashtie, which
yep.
was super under the radar back in the day.
Yeah.
Which nobody really even knows about.
I mean,
which is funny.
Those are only in what, grade school sizes though?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
This
I
one,
mean, this
yeah,
one is,
you're right.
yeah.
Actually, I don't think the Vashtie version of the Air Jordan 2, I think that she did.
Yeah, I think she did a Jordan 2.
I don't think that would have like sort of lived well in men's size. I don't know. It's a hard shoe to really sell. The only one that we've ever seen really do well is just Don's, and those still don't even do very much well either. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so Alayli May collaboration, second collaboration with Air Jordan, or female collaboration with Air Jordan, with a signature like legacy model.
Yeah.
And the sort of inspiration behind that was this sort of homage to her roots in, I'm going to assume it's Los Angeles.
Yeah, she's from LA.
LA.
Yeah.
East LA, I'm going to assume as well, based off of some of the imagery that surrounded the item, which was, you know, this culture of, what sort of materials were on it? It was like corduroy.
She had corduroy, I believe satin.
Satin.
She had like some chenille on there
Chenille.
for the swoosh.
And it's so cool the way she mentions like how they are incorporated into the shoe of just like satin Jordan shorts,
Yeah.
like fleet,
Like
like
basketball
yeah,
shorts,
basketball shorts, fucking corduroy cholo slippers, like like you can't get any more like to the point with your materials and your backstory.
Yeah, and I
collaboration.
think the design was well informed based on
Yeah.
her narrative, and I think that's
Definitely.
why it was so successful and people gravitated towards it. Was
I
because
totally did.
yeah,
Yeah,
I remember
like,
you were telling me like the week leading up to it, like, yo, if we get there on time, like we're definitely going there.
yeah, and I'm
like,
I'm
grab
gonna
a pair.
buy it for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Like, Sean Witherspoon from Round 2 always mentions how like corduroy is now like the most in thing right now.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's using it, which is true because he always comments at the bottom of everybody's pictures like, yes,
Yeah,
corduroy.
Yeah, I know. I literally just saw that today too. I forgot where I saw that.
It was
but-
on a I think it was a born and raised.
Born and
thing.
raised,
Yeah.
yeah.
So shout out to that. Corduroy is definitely back.
Yeah.
In terms of materials, but
What are we gonna talk about today?
we're gonna talk a lot about females in or women in streetwear in every sense of their sort of involvement nowadays. We're going to talk about a little bit of how it was, you know, first starting out with streetwear and sort of where they were, and kind of now with the trends of athleisure and everybody looking like they work out but not really working out. How does that fit into this sort of rise of women in streetwear,
Yeah.
which is a great thing.
Yeah.
It's definitely pushing the culture forward for young women entrepreneurs to come in the game and be like, yo, I can creative direct this. You can, I can design this. I can push this in it. And women nowadays aren't really looking to jump into the, fashion houses like they were before. Like, I want to work at Chanel, I want to work at blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Now these girls are looking up to people like an Emily Oberg, and I want to go work at Kith or, another streetwear brand. So
Yeah.
that's a little bit of what we're going to be talking about
And
today.
We're also going to be touching on a little bit how the landscape of streetwear or just fashion in general has changed for men too.
Yeah.
Albeit it's going to be a much shorter segment than what we're going to be talking about in terms of women. But we will kind of talk about that too. So why don't we start with what streetwear used to be like for women?
Oh man, were there women in streetwear when it first started?
I'm sure there were women in streetwear, but streetwear back then catered like almost 100% to like male consumers.
No, definitely. Like it in terms of just what streetwear was in 2000, and of course there's a prehistoric streetwear that is almost undocumented, really, unless you were pioneers in streetwear that you just happen to know. It's very like word of mouth when you go back as early as the 90s, etc. But we talk about like a key moment or the golden era of streetwear, which was that like late 90s, early 2000s to mid 2000s. Clothing was just bigger. Like, in general, clothing was made to be baggier. Like, people weren't wearing smalls and mediums, and you could only see people wearing, double XL tall. It just the fashion of streetwear at the time was just a lot bigger, and it didn't accommodate women who wanted to wear it.
Yeah, and that's another good thing to point out too, is that there was no streetwear specifically for women.
Yeah.
Is that women, if they wanted streetwear, they had to wear men's clothing.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it was, and now we're seeing kind of a shift more towards streetwear for women by women.
Which is what they, I think in the early years, that was a thing that was trying to be created.
Yeah.
So I think one of the first women's streetwear brands was that I remember that some of the girls in my middle school and high school started to wear was Hell's Bells.
Yep.
That was a huge first women's streetwear sort of
specifically for women.
For women, yeah. Shirts were cut and designed for women, etc. Jeans, jackets, and all that. But I think they came off of another brand.
I'm not too sure, actually.
They came off of another brand. If not, then I think they made a men's brand afterwards. Because they had
Married to the Mob. Do you remember that brand?
That might. Yeah,
no, I think that might be like a separate thing, but I mean, they're still.
That's still another good example
realm.
of like a women's streetwear brand that's actually still like thriving today, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, I think Married to the Mob is credited as being the first women's specific streetwear brand.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I just remember Hell's Bells being like really, really popular.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm not sure if it was like a spin-off or something, or it was just like that vibe of like grunge, like women grunge or whatever, just like kind of edgy, but they're still one and the same.
Yeah.
But sort of starting off in that sort of golden era and how it kind of transitioned into now, do you think that a lot of that sort of male-dominated industry of streetwear is something that it just goes with the times that we're in, or was there like a specific moment that sort of led to
that sort of like kicked it off?
Yeah.
No, I think it just goes hand in hand with streetwear being, or just everything in general being more readily available to everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think it just goes kind of hand in hand with that. These days there's very little barriers to get into anything.
No,
it's
yeah,
sort of like,
yeah, of course.
We sort of live in a time where if you want to do something or want to be this person, you can be. There are sort of no rules, no boundaries. So I think in that sense, women in streetwear have been sort of breaking the boundaries rather,
It always takes like that initial person to that maybe and a lot of it, if you think about it, coming back to some of the early women in streetwear, it was always deemed as these girls who were considered tomboys.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So Vashti, which is probably one of the most like recognizable like women in streetwear to this day, like even admits it herself in interviews and from back in the day. It's just being like, I've always been the tomboy. I've always liked to dress in like guys' clothes, and she always explains how it's just easier for her to style, etc.
Yeah.
And they always have the best and coolest stuff. And when you think about to like the early 90s or whatever of streetwear, that was probably like the coolest stuff out at the time. Like you weren't seeing, you know, like the all over prints, and it was all obviously a little bit cheaper as well, because in order to buy something from a fashion house like who was popular at the time, like a Chanel, Versace, you know, Gucci, Louis Vuitton, that shit's expensive, but you can get like an outlandish looking t-shirt for, you know, like a tenth of the price really. And that's probably what probably attracted females at the time, just being like, you know, I can style this stuff and it's cheaper and it looks better, and I'm probably the only girl that's wearing it. So that's probably something that kind of pushed them to it. You know?
Yeah, well, I think it also has to do with women not wanting to be put in a box. You know, like I know for me, I don't really like to pin down my style to just streetwear or just this or just that. You know, I can't really, when I describe it to a person, I don't really like to use labels.
Yeah.
You kind of just have to see for yourself. So I think that's the same sort of.
See for yourself. Yeah,
I think that's kind of sort of the same sentiment that women had towards like the streetwear industry. Is that, or just fashion in general, is that they didn't want to be labeled or put into a box. You know.
It was just t-shirts.
Yeah.
It was just clothing to them.
Yeah.
And and it really just took like I said, like it took a Vashti to take it and turn it into her own sense of style, her own thing.
Yeah.
And from there, it really she just took it and girls followed. You know?
And that's another thing that women in the streetwear industry, they add their own perspective that wasn't there before, you know? So now we're looking at streetwear through the lens of both men and women, which traditionally never happened, you know?
Yeah.
You never asked a woman about her opinion on like a pair of sneakers or anything like that, or like a drop or something that's
Dude, nowadays the women that are the sort of pioneers in streetwear today are the ones that are dressing better than most guys.
Yeah,
which
true. That is very true.
Which is very surprising.
And I mean, just even women in general, like if you ask them, sometimes they'll know even more than like the average guy about like a streetwear drop or, you know, something else that's going on.
I mean, it goes back to the first episode in what we talked about is there's some people that like streetwear, but there's other people that generate this affinity and love for streetwear that incorporates them doing the research and figuring out what brands are who and who the designers are for what. And that's how you get like the Christina Pack, who's so into the Comme des Garçons and the Off-White and the design background is there and all this stuff. It's not just I'm gonna look at this catalog and understand like, oh, this is a shirt, this is, you know, a jacket, whatever.
Yeah.
It requires a little bit more I guess passion.
Yeah.
You know, if you really think about it, because there's not too many girls out there that are on the same level as them, and you can say like, oh, they're just in the circle and in the mix, but they have a really creative mind in the way that they look at things in terms of clothing.
And a lot of these women have really deep roots in the fashion industry in general, not just streetwear. So obviously their narrative is authentic. Like they've been in the game. They know what they're talking about, you know.
Dude, let's talk about my girl real quick. Let's talk about Emily Oberg, because she tends to get a lot of flack for being that girl that's not necessarily it's hard because I don't want to say cultural, but I don't.
But that's what people label her
But
as.
yeah, it is, because she is the one that is covering, well, previously covered, you know, like Supreme drops. She is one to talk about the current climate of streetwear and all that stuff. But as a person herself, she's she's very fashionable. She's very knowledgeable about the fashion houses and the designers and all that stuff. So why do you think a girl like her compared to maybe a girl like Vashti or Christina Pack don't get the same sort of recognition as being like, oh, like they fit into this world?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because think about it, you just put these two in the same, put an Adrian Ho and an Emily Oberg in the same bucket and put the Vashti and the Christina Pack in a different bucket.
Mm-hmm.
And you can kind of see the dichotomy of the two and why the Vashti group gets the high praise of being like, oh, you guys have been in the game. Like,
yeah,
you guys are good. You guys can do whatever you want in streetwear and never get looked down upon, where the Emily Obergs really can't, you know?
Well, the way that I think people see it is that Emily Oberg and Adrian Ho are just using this sort of image to get by, to make it.
Perpetuate their career, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. Which, I mean, is probably not the case, but that's what a majority of people think, you know, or
definitely
seem to think.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, a Vashti or a Laylee May, they're sort of in different circles. They're multi-hyphenates, so they do a lot of different things.
Damn, that's a badass word.
Yeah. I mean,
no,
like Vashti,
yeah.
like she directs like music videos and other things, like she's a stylist, like all these other things. So, you know, from an outsider's point of view, it seems just more authentic. It seems like she knows what she's doing. She obviously has some sort of experience in...
Like she has a foot in the culture.
Yeah, exactly.
Like she's not just there to wear the clothing and be a part of it. That's something that's like second nature to her, but she contributes to it. She's, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But Emily does that in the same way, sort of. I mean, at least in a new age way of social media and showing and exposing people to what's currently what are the current trends of social media, or not social media, sorry, streetwear. So when she does cover, you know, a line at Supreme, or she does cover her documentary on, you know, reselling, like these are current issues within streetwear. So she could, in a sense, almost be adding to it just as much as anybody else, you know?
No, yeah, for sure. And I think she definitely is. As much flack as, you know, any of these creatives get, I think that they're all pushing the boundaries forward for everybody, not just women, but for men too.
Definitely.
Which we'll talk about more later. But I think, I mean, regardless of what people say, and if you want an idea of like what people say about women creatives in this industry, just go on like Hypebeast and look at the comments.
It's like so misogynistic, but I just think that just plays into the culture of what's going on in today, like normally, like even outside of streetwear,
just society in general.
Which is, I mean, it is like completely negative to how, I mean, we both feel about it. Yeah. Because shit, like I'm not gonna lie, I've looked at Christina Pack photos and gotten inspiration from them. And,
oh yeah, for sure.
Like and that's just how it is. But why is it that we see like this trend now, like guys like us can look at girls like them and gain inspiration from them? Why isn't it that we couldn't do that before?
Well, I think the definition of being masculine or being a man has changed, you know? Maybe like a few years ago, you had to be like the toughest dude out there, you know? But now, today, it's not the case, you know? You could be whoever you want. Yeah, exactly. You could wear whatever you want, be whoever you want, act any way that you want.
No, that's
real. It'll still be acceptable to most people. So I think for me personally, I definitely draw a lot of inspiration from women creatives. Yeah. Just because it, like I said, it adds a different perspective to my life. You know, I'm looking at things through a different lens that I may not, you know, so I'm seeing things that I may not have seen if I was just looking at it through, let's say, like the lens of like a Virgil or whoever, or like a Connor, you know? Like
I think you can look at like the way that girls look at things too also provides a different insight to how we look at it. Like for example, I saw a really good example of you know how when you tie your laces behind, when you wear Chucks, you tie them behind your ankle, which has always been really cool to me. I saw a girl. She decided to tie it almost like she had only laced it maybe about halfway through her shoe and tied it maybe like all the way up her calf.
Yeah.
That's very symbolic of how ballerina dancers would do it.
Yeah.
And that's a sort of inspiration that we wouldn't be able to pull from that stuff.
No,
you know
for
what I
sure.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
to see something like that and you just sit back and you're like, whoa, that's kind of cool. But you realize after maybe asking them, like, what made you want to do that? And like, oh, like I used to do ballet. Like they do it because it, provides more support for issue. Or maybe there's no functional benefit for it at all. Maybe it's just aesthetic.
Aesthetic. Yeah.
Maybe there's that piece. But there's little things like that us as guys, we can definitely pull from to push streetwear in any sort of sense, you know what I mean?
No, for sure. And I'll be quite honest, like whenever I'm thinking of ideas or inspiration for what I'm gonna wear, like a lot of the times I'll see like street style photos of like women.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, like when women do wear men's clothing, they do it
pretty
like to the point where it looks better than if a guy was wearing it.
Adrian Ho is a prime example of making every single men's item possible look amazing.
Yeah, and sometimes I get jealous because it's like, yo, if I wore that, I would look like an idiot.
I would look terrible in it.
Even though they're wearing like a men's outfit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we should definitely talk about is when it comes to, and we kind of talked about it in the last episode about lookbooks, but think about a girl like Adrian Ho, who, if you really pay attention to like a Supreme drop, she will get everything prior to it.
Yeah.
She'll wear it in a couple photos. Next thing you know, it's boosted in terms of what is, I guess, a bit more valuable because people see her wear it. She looks good in it. Us guys think that we can wear it just as well.
Yeah.
Is that it? Do you think that's like a good tactic? Is it in a sense? Is it just not exposing them? Isn't the word exploiting them?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exploiting them for
off their looks because we want to have like Emily Oberg creative direct our brand like a Kith, right?
Yeah.
We don't want to use her in the sense of your looks are going to make people buy her thing.
So I guess the question you're asking is, are brands just cashing in on this trend, quote unquote, of women in streetwear?
Yeah.
I think so. I definitely think so. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if people were.
Yeah. That's very
obviously
unfortunate.
It's not the ideal situation, but I mean, even then it is still somewhat pushing the culture forward, as bad as that may sound, because it's still involving women in streetwear in some form.
Yeah.
It just sucks that, people are cashing in, are seeing this as a trend,
Yeah. And I think like the biggest thing right now is just sort of where we're going in terms of just streetwear and cultural influences with the things that we wear, right? So we see like the biggest trend nowadays is athleisure. We see every girl that is supposed to be, that has a foothold in streetwear. They're constantly showing themselves working out. Vashtie's like working out like fucking box logo t-shirts and shit, just like the rarest of rarest things. It's just so
it's like,
funny.
it's only $3,000.
It's so funny to watch. Like 3 Playboy chains, like that's like 8K on your neck right there. But yeah, like we're seeing how the big thing nowadays is athleisure, and we see all these like the girls that have the foothold in the streetwear industry. They're all following that trend. Do we feel like brands nowadays are trying to match it as well? Like we see like a Kith releasing very like sporty, athletic types. They even have a Kith women's now. Can we see that becoming a trend as we continue?
I think so. As far as like athleisure is concerned, or just the market in general, I think that the market is really being driven by women.
Yeah.
So brands have to, respond to that and create products that appeal to those women.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I think women are playing a large part in driving the streetwear market forward and kind of, you know, pushing it so that there are more products available to them.
Yeah.
So.
And then the term of unisex always comes up with clothing nowadays, because obviously with this, I guess the change in garb of it being less, you know, I guess baggy. Well, I mean, it's now becoming a thing again, but before it was just strictly baggy. But now there's like a combination of, you know, big flowy pants, you know, tighter jacket, whatever. But when you see like brands starting to include more unisex sizing, a mixture of different patterns and colors that anybody can wear, I'm seeing a lot more like pastels nowadays.
Yeah.
It is definitely geared more towards this middle ground now, because they understand that their consumer base is not just men anymore.
Yeah, and that's another thing. That's a good point. Is that brands have to sort of recognize that there are so many different types of people. There's not just a girly girl, quote unquote, that's going to want to wear pink. There's a girl that may want to wear like all black, or like some more like, I don't know,
all red.
all red, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And there's also the guy that isn't always going to be wearing, I don't know, what's like a
neutral colors.
Yeah, maybe they want to wear
for sure,
like fluorescent pink or whatever.
Maybe
you know,
they're going to Miami. Maybe they want to, you know, wear some bright ass colors.
Maybe they want to stun a little. Yeah, exactly. So I think brands have to do a better job of recognizing that that you can't just label consumers and put them into a box.
But it depends on what brands, because
for sure.
Like, and I think this kind of makes sense and kind of doesn't at the same time. But if you're a brand that's almost like sort of deeply rooted in kind of skateboard culture, I don't think that they focus much on sort of meeting that demand, more so than a brand that's kind of deeply rooted in quote unquote just streetwear.
Yeah.
So like and Huff it kind of teeters in the middle there. That's a good example. They are strictly about skateboarding, but they also are being sold in Zoomies. Yeah. So if they know that a majority of their, you know, consumer base could be potential girls that shop at Zoomies, that listen to punk rock, whatever, then they got to make, you know, dad hats that are in bright colors, or, you know, Plant Life was I remember that was Plant really Life big was was a huge thing. The socks were being worn by girls, and on Tumblr you could type fucking hashtag Huff socks, and you could see a bunch of fucking girls that are half naked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I never did that for the record, but
no,
just in case you wanted to.
There was a statistic that I looked up. I'm just kidding. But yeah, that's a totally feasible thing to really think about. Okay, where is my product selling? Who shops at those places? Okay, I have to make clothing that sort of caters to that audience, or else there's no point in me being in that store. Yeah. You know what I mean? And there's brands that have created, you know, these women brands, or these women sub brands from their big brand, because they know that women wear their brand. So why not create one? You know what I mean?
So you're saying it just depends on the brand and what their sort
of depends on the brand and what, exactly. Yeah. Where they stand on this sort of this linear sort of line of street, like, are you on this edge of the spectrum or this edge of the spectrum? If you're on the tough guy, I don't care what the fuck I release, supreme sort of mentality, then fuck it, they don't have to release anything that's for women. Or maybe you're on the other side where you're just like who's like a good example of like a brand that caters very well to like men and women.
Like streetwear brand, or just brand in general?
Maybe like a streetwear brand, maybe like something that's
I would say like Nike does a really good job.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like sport like clothing. They've been pushing a lot for like women's active wear, you know?
Yeah.
Since it's a big
and just in this recent article that I read on like the business of fashion that's gonna be their main focus.
Their target consumer
for the next season is, you know, this athleisure is a fucking trend. Like it's not a trend. It's a goddamn lifestyle, and it's gonna continue to be a lifestyle because people always want to look good and feel good, and you only feel like that if you are working out or pretending to look like you're working out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
and I mean, the thing about that is I feel like if you feel like you look good, then you're going to perform like 10 times better.
Yeah.
I think that's
Like,
what
I
it is.
know that if I was a girl and I was wearing like athletic workout gear
Yeah.
and I looked like I just working out and I just like shift my mentality, like I just worked out. I'm just fine. I'm wearing this athletic gear. Fuck, I'm
the
good.
shit.
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah,
I'm gonna keep
yeah.
buying it.
Yeah,
And
that's how I feel when I play basketball. Like low key, if I look bummy, it's like, yo, I look kind of bummy right now. I'm not gonna do it. And then you know what? I'm throwing bricks all game. They're like, yo, I'll play defense. That's all I got right
you're
now.
just
though.
cherry picking.
Yeah.
Like I only look good enough to cherry pick
Yeah,
right now.
exactly,
Like I
exactly.
can't be seen on the other side of the
Yeah.
court. But yeah, I mean, it goes with whatever is currently happening. So with athleisure and with Nike sort of gearing all their focus towards athleisure and sort of women being excited about this stuff, then streetwear brands just have to follow because they all mix together at some point.
Yeah,
you
no,
know what
for
I
sure.
mean? Like whatever is currently in on the wide scale, pop culture, whatever,
Mhm.
streetwear brands have to sort of buy into that.
Yeah, and
they
so
have to meet
that demand.
Unless they are the shit and they don't have to, respond to anything.
Well, again,
like a Supreme.
Again, I think it
unfortunately.
really depends on what sort of scene we're talking about because skateboarding, for instance, is or was and still kind of is dominated by men. Like you don't see that many female skateboarders. They're definitely out there, and they definitely do kill it, but it still is majority. Men.
And there is like you can slowly see how there is a wider acceptance of females in skateboarding.
Yeah.
Especially like if you did watch the on Viceland the most recent Thrasher's King of the Road, they had on literally the second half of the entire series female guests.
Yeah.
And they were just a part of the team. And a lot of the challenges were geared towards them, and it was really awesome to see because it provided like a different vibe to the show.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that just this like
Super
super
like
punk
masculine,
hardcore like yeah
on
like
a road trip
fucking
with my
get it.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it wasn't didn't feel like that. It was just like no, this is a team. Like
Yeah.
it felt more not family friendly, but it was just a bit
Just provided
different to watch.
like a bit, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I guess nowadays like do we see these brands like and it's so weird to think like and you would have never thought like back in the day like a brand like the Hundreds would have its own sub brand called Jennifer, and which is geared more. I mean, actually, it's geared toward like a unisex, like clothing. Do we see other companies start to produce, like women brands or produce like women apparel, like a Diamond Supply, or that's already sort of mainstream in streetwear?
Like, are there other brands out there doing the same thing?
Are we gonna see other brands do it?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think so. Like we talked about in this episode and a lot of other episodes, I think brands have to adapt or get left behind. And I think the future of streetwear does include women, and they're going to become a bigger and bigger part of the market.
I think it relies on women.
You think so?
I think streetwear relies on women because we think that we talked about in the first episode about how guys subconsciously buy streetwear items to flex for other guys.
Yeah.
But realistically, a lot of us will wear specific clothing or dress a particular way to impress girls.
Not me. I have a girlfriend.
No, this is a real ass thing. We will
impress my mom, maybe.
Okay, there we go. You're still impressing a female though. I got a good ass story. It was one time. It was a family party. Maybe when I was in like 9th or 10th grade, and
was this the time you had a crush on your cousin?
No, come on.
I'm just kidding. I made that up.
It was a family party, but my mom had invited some sort of family friend that I had never met.
Yeah.
And this girl had come over to my house, and I was like wearing some bummy shit already.
Yeah.
So, and she was just sitting in the living room.
Oh, was this the one where you said you changed like 10 times?
Yeah. So let me provide some context. So she's sitting in the living room, and I noticed her, and I was wearing some raggedy ass clothes. So I would go upstairs, change my outfit, try to put a fire ass fit together, come back downstairs, maybe like go into the living room, maybe grab some like water or something so she would notice. Go back upstairs, look at myself and be like, no, that wasn't good enough. Come back downstairs, change again, make sure she noticed me. And that's how I knew. I was like, I'm doing this.
You drank a lot of water that night. Must have been dumb hydrated.
A lot of apple cider. But I just knew, like, the girls are eventually going to be the ones that dictate what's cool, what we should be wearing. You know, because we do sort of value their opinion in a
oh yeah, for sure.
on a wider scale. So
Yeah.
when it comes down to like a Emily Oberg or like a Vashtie or Adrian Ho, it's like Adrian Ho, the Adrian Ho effect. I'm gonna wear this Supreme piece that may not be as sought out, like a piss green yellow box logo hoodie.
Yeah.
And that shit's gonna sell out on day of regardless because
Yeah.
I look good in it. You guys like that I look good in it. Now you think you're gonna look good in it, or get a girl that looks like me
Because they think it'll look good in it.
Exactly.
And if I'm wearing it, they'll think I look good in it.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I think it's just gonna revolve around that, and it's just gonna keep.
It's kind of shallow if you think about it.
I know, but that's just how. I mean, us guys
But
are
it
very
makes sense.
simple-minded.
Like, guys definitely do dress to impress women. But
That's just gonna be the trend. I mean, you're gonna get girls that aspire to be the Vashtie, the Adrian Ho, the Emily Oberg, and they're gonna come in and, you know, creative direct or design or, you know, graphic design, whatever, for your favorite streetwear companies, because they're gonna have an amazing creative input, and it's gonna be different from what the old heads of streetwear used to think of, because that's just not where it's gonna be anymore.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. I think streetwear itself, just everything in general, is like super progressive these days. Not in a bad way, but
No, it's amazingly good.
yeah, it's just opening doors. Doors are being opened for different types of people.
And then that's when you see something like high fashion adapt to that.
Yeah,
Because obviously back in the day it was very streamlined. There was only high fashion had rules.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But nowadays you can even see the sort of gender fluidity in high fashion for men. Look at Raf Simons' like most recent like runway show where the dude's damn near dick was out. Did you see that?
no,
You
I
didn't
saw
see that? Was it a Rick Owens?
It was
or
Rick.
it was a Rick
yeah.
Owens sort of thing, but it's this. It's ridiculous,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's a thing. Like everyone's more comfortable with being themselves, wearing women's clothing, wearing skirts, wearing whatever. Kanye's wearing kilts.
That's a good point. I think people will be much more comfortable without having to live within these lines. You know,
Yeah.
when we won't have to worry about. Oh, is it like, do I look too feminine right now? Do I look too masculine right now?
No,
I think
you
people
just-
will be
you
more
just-
comfortable. in
You're
that
just
sense.
always gonna say Kanye did it. Kanye did it already. Kanye wore a skirt. It's okay.
I have a picture from like, when did Watch the Throne come out? Was that 2013?
I think so. Yeah.
When he wore that kilt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I went
Leather
to a thrift.
kilts.
I remember I went to a thrift store and I tried a kilt on.
Did you really?
Yeah, and I think I have a picture of it on my phone. somewhere.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
I gotta see that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I mean, try things
It's
out,
pretty
man.
comfortable, not gonna lie.
I bet.
Like,
I bet.
Now
But-
I see why skirts are popular.
Is that,
But anyway,
that your new
that's
trend now? Is that you?
Hey, if Young Thug can wear a dress, I'm not gonna wear one. But if you want to,
That's a good example.
yeah,
Somebody who is as tough. I don't know if you've ever watched like old videos of Young Thug
Not really,
in the ghetto. I don't know why I've watched them, but there are videos of him, and he's just like guns a blazing, like ghetto as hell. You know what I mean? And if a man like that could wear a skirt, a dress, whatever,
a full-blown
that's just saying,
dress.
like, nowadays, like, it doesn't really matter anymore. Try new things. I'm not saying, like, I'm personally gonna wear a dress, but if you are that person watching want to wear a dress, go ahead, man. Show us a fire fit. Show us some ankle.
Yeah, free the ankle.
Free the ankle, man. Hashtag free the ankle on all our posts for the next week after this episode comes out. But yeah, like, I think that's just going to be the future of streetwear. Not to say that, every brand or every men's brand is going to fall off and a women's streetwear brand is going to rise, but I think women are just going to have a greater input in how these brands run.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I'm excited to see that because it's definitely going to be a contrast to what streetwear has been, and it's not going to be anything like it is now,
Well, I fuck with the Jennifer shit.
Yeah,
like,
no, for sure.
I thought that hoodie was really, really cool.
Yeah, I don't know about how much was the price at?
Like 100 something.
180 or something like that.
I'm
I don't know
definitely
about
not.
all that.
No.
It was nice, but I don't know about 180.
Now I'll wear a unisex, female created item, but the price better be right.
Yeah. We're both. Oh yeah. By the way, we're both unemployed right now. So
Come on. So I've been wearing this unemployment hat for like fucking
like a month now.
A month ever since my birthday, and I'm not gonna lie, unemployment has only been fun for the week of that 4 weeks that I have been, because I've spent so much time fucking honing in on my craft of figuring out how to edit video, which I knew nothing about, how to edit audio, which I knew nothing about. Like, a lot of this shit is still brand new to both of us, and
so I guess unemployment has sort of been kind of like
it's been good, but there are times like when I'm actually done editing a video, I'm just like, what next? I'm just I'm just waiting for that Thursday or that Wednesday, whatever, when we record, and just be like, yes, give me some content that I can play around with. Pause. You know what I mean? Like, I need something to work with. But the great thing about this is, like, all the editing and, recording and stuff, like, that shit is something that we're always gonna have to, figure out as we go,
Yeah.
And it's good to learn that stuff. So when it does come to a time where somebody's like, hey, we want to have you guys, be on our show, or we want your show to be on our network, it's like, all right, well, we know how to do everything from A to Z, so we can direct it in a way where we have full creative control, which is what we would want to have when it comes time to do this type of shit.
I mean, but we're open to anything if anybody.
Yeah, if you wanna boss us around and do whatever, like,
that too.
as long as it pays right, I'm totally down for that. But what you guys are witnessing is probably the easiest part of this podcast, which is just us talking to each other.
Yeah,
like that shit just.
It just comes natural to
flawless,
us now.
You know what I mean? Like, conversation is just easy between us, but it's all that, the back end stuff and why, videos are late sometimes, because, sometimes a little bit difficult for me, you know what I mean? But either way,
I got shit to do.
Well, yeah.
I have life.
Not anymore though. Not anymore.
No.
After how many days of work you have left?
After today, I have 6 more days of work.
Yeah, and then, we're going to have a video out every damn day because we're going to have so much fucking free time.
Yeah.
But to the people that do watch us every week.
And the people who've been engaging with us.
Shout out to you guys, man.
Yeah.
Like, I swear to God, like, we freak out and geek out.
Even if it's just like,
over the littlest things.
I like your podcast, or hey, like, this is sick. Like,
dude, fuck yeah, like,
I will be
thank you.
Hell yeah, this is tight. Like, someone out there likes
that's
this.
Definitely.
Like, we appreciate that.
You gotta imagine, like, YouTube, fucking SoundCloud. There are millions of videos there.
Yeah.
And for one person to see
take time
ours,
out of
to
their
type
day,
it out.
Mind you, like, all the comments we've been getting have been like
paragraphs,
fucking essays,
which
double
is,
space, Times New Roman, 12-point font.
That's just amazing, dude.
Yeah,
like,
so we really appreciate that.
You gotta really think about, like, the conversation that we're having, and for people to want to contribute to that means that we're doing something right. That's all we ever get is, this is the thing that's been missing. Yeah. Which is like, hey, man, that's why we started this shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
shout out to you guys. Thank you again.
Thank you. And make sure you follow us.
Tell
subscribe, everybody, your friends, whatever. subscribe, do whatever you
We're
can.
Available on the Apple Podcast.
Ooh, just type in
SoundCloud.
streetwear. We're like,
Just type in streetwear.
no,
We're
you
on
want to
there.
know?
We
Oh, no,
pop
no.
up.
I'm going to tell you something that was super fucking tight. You go to YouTube,
Yeah.
you type in streetwear, we're like the 6th video.
Yes.
On YouTube, dude. On YouTube. Like, god damn. Like, you know how many people look up, like, streetwear pickups, etc. on YouTube?
Yeah.
God damn, that's so awesome. We're just waiting. It always takes one sort of monumental thing to shift things, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
once Emily Oberg comes across it and retweets or whatever, then hey, we're golden.
He
And
still has a girlfriend.
don't worry, we didn't
Emily-
forget about you
Emily.
guys. We didn't forget about DJ Play Fresh.
Is that? Wait, are we?
No,
getting it
that's
right
for
this time?
sure it. That's for
Play
sure
fresh.
it.
Okay, we wanted to make sure we got it right this time.
Yeah,
Shout out
we
to
got you.
and everybody else who's listening.
Yep.
We
And
appreciate you guys.
that was actually, hey, this is a short one, but it's never,
It's still like 45 minutes.
it's always
pretty-
quality over quantity with us.
Sure.
Don't forget that. That is episode 11 of the No Chance podcast. We'll see you next week.
Later.
Peace.